Good afternoon, class. How was everyone's weekend? Yellow shirt in the back. What did you do this weekend? You went to the park with your mom? And you got chased by squirrels? Are you okay? Yeah? Well, I'm glad to have you in class today. Glad to see you. Pink shirt in the front. What did you do? Oh, you ate a lot of street food with your mom? Was it good? Yeah? I also really like street food, so I really can't blame you for overeating. What about you, white shirt? You went to the amusement park? And? Oh, you only rode the little rides? But I think that's pretty fair, honestly. The big rides are kind of scary. And you can always try next time, right? Okay. So I want everyone to take a look here, because this weekend I went to go buy this very, very special shirt. Can everyone see what's on this shirt? It is a man riding a horse, I will give you that. However, this horse and this man are actually quite special to history, because this image here is of a Mongolian warrior and his war horse. And they played a very, very crucial part in the expansion of the Mongolian Empire. So, today, for class, we are going to be talking about how the Mongolian Empire actually played a very, very crucial part in cross-cultural communication and the spreading of cultural ideas between the East and the West. So, quick, does anybody know who Genghis Khan is? Yes. Yes, he was a very, very, very much feared warlord, and actually the Mongol Empire and the Mongolians have been quite vilified throughout history. Can anybody tell me what the word vilified means? Yes, purple shirt here in the front. Vilified does mean to make someone a villain. We can agree on that. However, vilified also means making someone a villain by focusing on all the bad things that they've done in order to create a very, very bad picture of them. And typically this word is used to create a bad picture of someone, to make someone believe in your story. So you want somebody to be the bad guy so that somebody else looks like the good guy. However, the Mongolian Empire actually did a lot of good during their time, and it is something that is often overlooked because they were such feared mounted warriors. So, at the beginning of the Mongolian Empire, before it was even an empire, we had Mongolia that is right here, in this very little area here. However, Mongolia at the time was full of a lot of nomadic tribes. Does everyone know what nomadic tribes are? Yeah, they are people. They move around because they follow the food, they follow the seasons. They aren't very settled in their lifestyles. However, the nomads in Mongolia thrived off of following the seasons, and at the time, Mongolia actually was fighting a lot. All of these tribes in this area were very, very violent against each other. So Mongolia was not necessarily Mongolia. It was just a bunch of little tribes constantly fighting with each other. However, Temujin, also known as Genghis Khan later after he became Mongolia's leader, he thought to himself, this cannot work. Mongolia cannot be Mongolia if we're constantly fighting with each other. So, after his wife was kidnapped, Borte, her name is Borte, she was kidnapped, and he was so mad that he fought to get his wife back, and he was actually fighting a rival tribe. So he fought them and he defeated them. But in defeating the rival tribe, many realized that Genghis Khan was actually a very specialized war leader. Despite the fact that he is very ruthless, yes, he's also very intelligent when it comes to military warfare. So he gained a lot of followers, and many people were so inspired by him that they actually decided to join his cause. And after fighting and saving his wife, he realized that we must unite Mongolia. And although his initial plan was not to conquer most of Asia, China, Persia, and then later Europe, his initial plan was only to unite Mongolia. So, as he sent invasions into the north, to the east, to the south, they finally unified Mongolia. However, he soon realized that so many other areas he felt needed their help, so he kept sending invasions all the way to the west, to Europe. And before he could get there, he stopped in the Middle East, through Persia, conquered most of China, and did this by horseback. The Mongolian warriors were actually very terrifying, as most history writes them. They were very skilled, and that's also what made them so feared. So in order for you to be a Mongolian warrior, you had to be able to ride your horse without a saddle. And although it may not sound very difficult, it is quite difficult. So you had to be able to ride the saddle or ride the horse without saddle, so that your arms were able to either use archery, swords, or any other specialization that warrior had to fight your enemies. During the invasion of China, they also learned how to conquer walled cities, because as we mentioned, the Mongolians and the Mongolian tribes actually were nomadic. They didn't have walled cities, and they didn't have castles. And it wasn't until they started invading other countries that they came across big monuments and sculptures and castles, and they didn't know how to take over. So they actually learned from the people there and took in their military and warfare knowledge, which also made them even more skilled than they already were. So over the course of 25 years, Mongolia, the Mongolian Empire, actually conquered more land than the Romans did in 400 years. And it's attributed to the fact that, despite the fact that many people thought they were very, very terrifying, they also knew that the Mongolians were fair in their diplomatic relations, which is where we will be taking account all the great deeds that the Mongolians actually did for the modern world. So Genghis Khan was actually very progressive for his time. Can anybody tell me what the word progressive means? Kind of. So progressive for the time means that their ideas were very equal. Nobody had more power than anybody else. And at the time, they were facing a lot of gender inequality and power inequality in terms of money and trade. However, Genghis Khan quickly realized that in order for people to be happy and to not create more war, he needed to abolish the aristocratic class. Can anybody tell me what aristocratic means? Purple shirt here. Yeah, that is actually totally correct. An aristocrat is simply someone that has more resources than somebody else. And by abolishing the aristocratic class, they were able to make everybody equal, so that everyone has a fair chance of getting what they need and the resources that they need. And in terms of doing that, Genghis Khan also valued merit over connections. So yes, they did have very, very skilled warriors, but they also needed scholars, scientists, doctors, and instead of valuing connections, which is like, say, my friend got me this job, Genghis Khan realized that merit, or how well you do in school, was actually way better in terms of getting the right people to the correct jobs than taking someone's word for it. During their invasions, the Mongolians actually became known for their religious tolerance, also a very progressive act for the time. Because the Mongolians practiced shamanism, and shamanism is a religion that is very in tune with nature. The shamanists do not believe in forced assimilation. Can anybody tell me what the word assimilation means? Red shirt right here. Right? I wouldn't say that's completely wrong, but in this case, assimilation is being used in a negative connotation. In this case, forced assimilation means forcing someone to take on your ideas and values because it fits your agenda. So, at the time when people would conquer, they would force the people that they conquered to become citizens of their nation by taking on their names, their religions, and their beliefs. However, Genghis Khan did not believe in that. And it created a very, very united people in his kingdom. So they had various religions. They had Buddhists, Muslims, and their shamanists. And they believed that in order for people to be happy, they had to be able to practice in their own beliefs. Which also paved way to a lot of the gender equality that Genghis Khan saw in his kingdom. Gender equality for the time was very progressive, actually, because in Europe, they were having a lot of class and gender conflicts. However, Genghis Khan realized that women were also needed in order to shift economies, and they were also needed in terms of work and academic help. Aside from that, Genghis Khan was also very, very into free trade. And does anybody know what the Silk Road is? Yes. Yeah, that's totally right. It was a road, a network of connections that connected the East to the West, and to the Middle East, and to many parts of Africa. This essentially was kind of, if we can think about it as a highway, or just certain areas that trade was able to be condoned, and where many cultural ideas were had. So during this time, Europe and Mongolia and parts of the Middle East, they participated in free trade. But this free trade system throughout the Silk Road also enabled the ideas of new ideas, new beliefs, a new writing system that would help the Mongolians record all of their conquests, their invasions, or just anything in terms of people's lives and the creation of stories. This also led way to the creation of a postal system, which at the time had not ever been seen, and it continued to be the most effective postal system for the next 5,000 years. It was said that the postal system from Europe to Mongolia was so safe that you can actually get from one side to the other without ever getting robbed. And this idea of cross-cultural communication between various parts of the regions opened up so many new ideas to the modern world that we still use today. Because despite the fact that they did conquer most of this area, it was this influx of cross-cultural communication that helped create much of what we see today, such as the postal system, a universal writing system, and the idea that free trade was more open to not only the Mongolians, but to those in Europe. And so, although the Mongolian Empire later did divide into 4 empires in China, the Middle East, Mongolia, and parts of Europe, they still continued practicing much of what Genghis Khan had implemented. And the Mongolian Empire, unfortunately, or probably fortunately for those that were conquered, came to cease in 1294 with the death of Genghis Khan's son, Kublai Khan. However, at the time, which we will get into next week in our next week's lesson, Kublai Khan actually had what is called a right-hand man. It is his most trusted friend and his advisor, which many of you may know. His name is Marco Polo. He traveled around the world and wrote all of his adventures adventures and the adventures of Marco Polo, and he was simply traveling and writing down his descriptions, and it is his descriptions of the Middle Ages that have actually helped shape a lot of historians' view at the time. And it was his help in the Mongolian Empire that actually helped shape a lot of the Mongolian history that we see today. So, after this lesson, I have this activity that I want you all to do this weekend, or tonight, whatever it is, due next Monday. Here you go. This activity simply is, I want you to write your own story, or your own set of values. If you were a leader, what values and ideas do you think would be most important to you and your people? What do you want to spread around for your people's health or well-being? Or just simply things that you think would be cool to have in your own kingdom. And it is due next Monday, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Write as much or as little as you want, but a paragraph is the minimum. And just tell me why you would think that these things are absolutely necessary to have in a kingdom. Yeah?